Welcome back to the Recipe for Crime. This is my private archive, the cases that were too dark for the dining room and too strange for the evening news. Today we're opening a new folder in the secret files. Put down your fork, listen closely, and let's find out what's really cooking in the shadow. December 6, 1991, Austin, Texas. For most, it was just another Friday night. But at the I Can't Believe It's Yogurt shop on West Anderson Lane, four young lives were about to be extinguished in a crime so brutal it changed the city forever. 13-year-old Amy Ayers, 15-year-old Sarah Harbison, and 17-year-olds Jennifer Harbison and Eliza Thomas were simply closing up for the night. They were doing the same mise en place cleaning routines I've done 1,000 times as a chef, stacking chairs, wiping counters, preparing for tomorrow. But they never made it home. Firefighters arrived to a blazing shop, only to find a nightmare in the back room. The girls had been bound with their own clothing, sexually assaulted, and shot execution style. For 34 years, this case was a wound that wouldn't heal. It was haunted by false confessions and wrongful convictions. But today, in early 2026, we finally have the truth. And it wasn't a confession that found it. It was the science of the smallest traces. For decades, the names Robert Springsteen, Michael Scott, Maurice Pierce, and Forrest Wellborn were synonymous with this crime. They were just teenagers when they were arrested in 1999. Two of them were sentenced to death and life in prison based on confessions they later swore were coerced through hours of brutal interrogation. As a professional, I know that under enough heat, anything can break. These men spent over a decade behind bars for a crime they didn't commit. Their convictions were overturned in the mid-2000s, but they lived under a cloud of suspicion for another 20 years. It wasn't until February 19th, 2026, just weeks ago, that a Texas judge formally declared all four men actually innocent. For the first time in 34 years, they have their names back. But the question remained, if it wasn't them, who was it? As a chef, I know that a kitchen holds secrets in its smallest corners. Investigators in 1991 faced a nightmare. The fire had destroyed almost everything. Fingerprints were lost in the soot. But one piece of evidence survived in the most unlikely place: a .380 caliber bullet casing found in a floor drain. In 2025, lead detective Dan Jackson resubmitted that casing for advanced ballistic testing. The technology had finally caught up. That casing produced a hit to an unsolved murder in Lexington, Kentucky. Suddenly, the search wasn't local anymore. We were looking for a traveler, a predator who moved across the country using the same modus operandi, targeting small shops, binding victims, and setting fires to erase his tracks. The real breakthrough came from the youngest victim, 13-year-old Amy Ayers. In her final moments, she fought back. Forensic teams in 2025 used YSTR DNA, testing on the smallest sample ever recovered from under her fingernails. We are talking about picograms, trillionths of a gram. The results were conclusive. The DNA didn't match the boys from Austin. It matched Robert Eugene Brashers, a serial killer who died by suicide in 1999 during a police standoff. Brashers was a ghost, never a suspect in the original case because he had no ties to Texas. But DNA proved he was there. He was arrested just 2 days after the murders at a border checkpoint, driving a stolen car with a .380 caliber pistol, the same make and model used in the shop. The recipe for this crime belonged to him alone. The yogurt shop murders remind us that the justice system is as fragile as a souffle. One wrong ingredient, a coerced confession, a biased lead, and the whole thing collapses. It took 34 years for the truth to be plated correctly. Amy, Eliza, Jennifer, and Sarah didn't get to grow up. But in 2026, their families finally have the one thing they were denied: an answer.